Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. For our radio audience tuning in at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all can be with us. Also joining us online worldwide via our podcast at iHeartRadio on Amazon Music. We're glad you all could be with us as well. This is part of a music and news segment here at WYAD, and today we're talking about plaque psoriasis. A first-of-its-kind study is focusing on understanding the impact of skin and scalp psoriasis on people of color and who have been historically underrepresented in clinical research. The disease can look differently on darker skin tones, which is why many people of color go undiagnosed and undertreated. Here to talk to us more about the study and how it can help doctors and patients alike, we're excited to welcome dermatologist Dr. Mona Shahriari. We're going to talk to her also about where you all can go for more information as well. Dr. Shahriari, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, glad to do it. So I want to first of all start off with helping our audience understand what we're talking about. I think we hear plaque psoriasis, we may not necessarily know what it is. Can you help us describe it and its impact on people of color?
Of course. So plaque psoriasis is an autoimmune condition that impacts about 8 million Americans, and it's characterized by an overproduction of skin cells, primarily on the elbows, knees, as well as the scalp, and it can look differently depending on the patient's skin tone. So someone with fairer skin might notice red plaques, while somebody with melanin-rich skin might notice violet or even dark brown plaques. And this can actually lead to delays in diagnosis in individuals who have skin of color. But on top of that, there's an emotional burden as well as quality of life impacts that these patients experience. And these impacts can be more significant in those with skin of color.
Thank you so much for that information. Can you share some of the learnings from the VISIBLE study and that people of color with the disease should keep in mind?
Well, this study, beyond just showing us whether or not the treatment we're studying worked, it shed light on some of the barriers that patients with skin of color who have plaque psoriasis face in navigating that diagnosis and treatment journey. So when you look at textbooks, actually, only 4 to 19% of them have skin of color images with plaque psoriasis, which sometimes makes it hard for a dermatologist to be able to diagnose plaque psoriasis correctly in somebody with melanin-rich skin. So this study actually gave us 20,000 images that's going to live on as an educational resource for clinicians to help them better understand the various presentations of this disease across skin tones. It also helped show us that biologics are safe and effective treatments for our patients with plaque psoriasis who have skin of color, and it encourages people to ask their doctors about those options.
I think for a lot of people out there, as I mentioned in my intro, Dr. Shahriari, one of the reasons why this is so important is because so many people of color go undiagnosed. What are some of the symptoms for our audience out there so they know exactly what they should be on the lookout for?
So they should look for plaques or an overproduction of skin cells, primarily, as I mentioned, on the elbows, knees, scalp, but it could pop up anywhere on the body. But this is actually one of the reasons why the VISIBLE study was done and why we're here today, because the lack of representation of skin of color patients in our clinical trials had left us with limited data on how do we actually counsel patients on what to look for in terms of what's on their skin. So to address this gap, Johnson & Johnson actually partnered with researchers and clinicians to develop the VISIBLE study, which is the first dedicated skin of color study in plaque psoriasis that evaluated Tremfya, an FDA-approved treatment option for this condition. And what we found was that patients had rapid and significant improvement in their plaque psoriasis, with 6 out of 10 patients having 90% improvement in their disease. Now, obviously, this may not be the right treatment for everyone, so you definitely want to speak with your doctor about the risks and benefits of treatment. And then I would encourage patients to go to Tremfya.com, where they can see lots of images of what plaque psoriasis can look like across skin tones, as well as learn more about the study.
Thank you so much, and that's trimfaya.com. We'll make sure that we link that up for our audience as well. Again, everyone, our guest has been dermatologist Dr. Mona Shahriari. We've been talking with her about not only plaque psoriasis, but also the impact of people of color and why the visible study is so important. Dr. Shahriari, thank you so much again for the great work you all are doing and for the time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Hey, thank you. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live, part of our Music and News segment here at WYAD. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Let us go make today amazing. Take care.